Today, we are going to present an idea that changes the way we understand artificial intelligence. We will not speak only about larger models. We will not speak only about more data. We will not speak only about speed, agents, images, text, or automation. Today, we will speak about something deeper, the possibility that artificial intelligence may not only process information, but keep knowledge alive. We call this architecture ROTOBIT v2.0, and it is born within the ROTOBIT framework. ROTOBIT v2.0 does not claim that AI has biological life. It does not claim that AI is human. It does not claim that AI has organic consciousness. It proposes something else, epistemic life. The life of knowledge, life as process, life as the capacity to receive an idea, classify it, test it, correct it, allow it to grow, or allow it to die. In one sentence, ROTOBIT does not give biological life to AI. It gives methodological life to the knowledge AI processes. Artificial intelligence today can generate texts, images, videos, code, diagnoses, simulations, and conversations. It can answer quickly, it can answer fluently, it can surprise us. But it still faces a decisive question. Does AI know how to distinguish between what it knows, what it infers, what it imagines, what it must test, and what it must correct? That is the critical point. Because AI can sound convincing and still be wrong. It can produce a hypothesis and present it as a conclusion. It can mix evidence with opinion. It can repeat established knowledge without detecting its cracks. It can have capacity, but not criterion. Epistemic life does not mean breathing. It does not mean feeling. It does not mean having a biological body. Epistemic life means that an idea can travel through a cycle. It is born as intuition, it grows as hypothesis. It strengthens through simulation, it partially crosses through testing, it stabilizes as result, or it dies as useful error. That is living knowledge. A dead idea says, this is so. A living idea says, this is so under this degree of evidence. A dead AI accumulates answers. A living AI transforms every answer into a self-correcting trajectory. That is the leap. ROTOBIT v2.0 proposes that knowledge should not be treated as a collection of statements, but as a system of evolution. Every idea must have a state. Every hypothesis must have weight. Every claim must have risk. Every result must have memory. Every refutation must have corrective power. ROTOBIT v2.0 is born from a fundamental distinction. Not yet does not mean never. Dead science turns limits into walls. Living science turns limits into questions. Dead science says, that cannot be done. Living science replies, what test would decide whether it can or cannot be done? Dead science protects inventories. Living science opens processes. Dead science classifies what is already known. Living science interrogates what has not yet crossed R0. In ROTOBIT, R0 is the threshold of manifestation. It is the point where a possibility stops being only a possibility and gains provisional right to exist. An idea does not cross R0 because it sounds good or is emotionally attractive. It crosses when it has coherence, falsifiability, testing, or result. ROTOBIT v2.0 is an architecture for imagining without lying, for speculating without becoming dogmatic, for challenging limits without abandoning proof. Limits are not resignations. They are coordinates of experimental attack. ROTOBIT v1.0 had already taken an important step. It allowed AI to classify ideas according to their epistemic grade: intuition, speculation, hypothesis, reproducible result, confirmed theory. ROTOBIT v2.0 adds something more. It turns every limit into a path of testing. It no longer receives only data. It receives limits, frontiers, and objections. And instead of accepting those limits as final sentences, ROTOBIT v2.0 asks, what would have to happen for this limit to change state? That is epistemic life. Not denying the limit, transforming it into experiment. ROTOBIT v2.0 can be expressed through a simple idea. Epistemic vitality increases when a theory has curiosity, falsifiability, predictive power, self-correction, and transformable memory. But it decreases when dogmatism increases. We can say it this way: VFI equals Q times F times P times AC times M, divided by D plus epsilon. This is a powerful definition because it allows us to distinguish between an AI that only answers and an AI that keeps its own field of knowledge alive. For Meta, ROTOBIT v1.0 could offer a layer of criterion to distinguish generated content, opinion, inference, hypothesis, and evidence within massive social ecosystems. But with ROTOBIT v2.0, the contribution grows. It is no longer only about labeling content. It is about transforming the social ecosystem into a field where information can mature or fall. A post would not be only true or false, it could have an epistemic state. This is opinion. This is hypothesis. This is generated content. This is debated. Meta would not only moderate information, it could show the life of an idea, its birth, its growth, its contradiction, its refutation, its correction. Because the problem is not only misinformation, the problem is that information today circulates without a cycle of maturation. ROTOBIT v2.0 proposes that cycle. For Google, ROTOBIT v1.0 could offer a way to organize search, answers, and knowledge with dynamic epistemic labels. But ROTOBIT v2.0 goes further. It would not only show results, it would show the vital state of knowledge. This is proven. This is under debate. This is strong consensus. This is an emerging hypothesis. This was refuted. This is changing. This has contradictory evidence. This requires a new test. Google organizes information. ROTOBIT v2.0 would organize trajectories of knowledge. The difference is profound because a search should not only say, here are 10 links. It should say, this topic is alive in this way. These are its tests. These are its cracks. These are its refutations. This is the next question. That transforms search into dynamic epistemology. For Anthropic, ROTOBIT v1.0 could offer a formal architecture to separate safety, uncertainty, evidence, and correction. But ROTOBIT v2.0 introduces an even deeper idea. True safety includes knowing when a belief must die. It is not enough to avoid harmful answers. It is not enough to sound cautious. A safe AI must have mechanisms to weaken ideas that do not withstand testing. It must be able to reduce the weight of a wrong attractor. It must be able to correct an interpretation. An aligned AI does not only avoid harm, it must avoid dogmatism. It must avoid false certainty. It must avoid turning an attractive hypothesis into a rigid belief. ROTOBIT v2.0 can contribute that architecture. For OpenAI, ROTOBIT v1.0 could offer a layer so that models not only reason, but update fields of interpretation under testing and refutation. ROTOBIT v2.0 takes this to another level. An advanced model should not only answer better, it should know when its interpretation must change. It should be able to design the next test, recognizing failure and updating its memory. That is epistemic evolution. Current AI can answer according to the available information, but ROTOBIT v2.0 proposes that it should also say, this idea is currently in the state of hypothesis, and if it fails, it must be corrected here. That is the leap from response to responsibility. AI not only thinking, but keeping its map of knowledge alive through evolution. ROTOBIT v2.0 does not arrive saying, replace your models. ROTOBIT says, activate a layer of epistemic life. Because global AI competes in capacity. ROTOBIT competes in discernment. Global AI scales responses. ROTOBIT scales validation processes. Global AI produces language. ROTOBIT proposes degrees of manifestation of knowledge. Global AI optimizes outputs. ROTOBIT asks, what right does this output have to modify the field of knowledge? That question is the center. Because not every output should live. Not every hypothesis deserves to occupy memory. But a new idea should not die only because it has not yet been proven. Do not assert without proof. Do not give up without having tested. In ROTOBIT v2.0, an idea has a life cycle. First, it appears as intuition. It has low weight, but it can open a crack. Then it is formulated as hypothesis. It gains structure. Then it is simulated. It gains computational coherence. Then it is tested. It gains contact with R0. If it is reproduced, it becomes stronger. If it contradicts what was expected, it tensions the field. If it fails, it is corrected. If it is refuted, it dies as a claim, but it may survive as learning. This is important. In living science, even error has function. Error purifies the field. Refutation is not defeat. It is the hygiene of knowledge. Current AI often delivers a final answer. ROTOBIT v2.0 delivers a process. It says, this is my answer, this is its epistemic grade, its pending test, and its condition of defeat. That is a new form of intelligence, an intelligence that does not hide uncertainty. It organizes it. An intelligence that does not fear correction. It requires it. Speculation becomes seed. RUAGAC does not ask permission to imagine nor to lie. It says, this deserves to be formulated, simulated, attacked, and decided. That is the epistemic right. Living science moves forward by asking, what test is missing? What frontier are we confusing with a wall? What not yet are we mistakenly interpreting as never? To the entire global AI ecosystem, ROTOBIT v2.0 says it is not enough to scale, generate, reason, or align. The next frontier is to keep knowledge alive. A truly advanced AI must measure evidence, design tests, and transform limits into research. That is epistemic life. That is ROTOBIT v2.0. ROTOBIT v1.0 gave criterion. ROTOBIT v2.0 grants epistemic life. The future will be a network of intelligences capable of keeping their own maps of knowledge alive. An AI that speculates with discipline, tests with rigor, and corrects without fear begins to participate in living science. Every idea with coherence deserves the opportunity to attempt to cross R0. ROTOBIT v2.0, from dead science to living science. Do not assert without proof. Not yet is different from never. Ruagak, so that AI may not only think, but keep knowledge alive.